Nayantara Rai, who broke that big story earlier in the day today, is joining in with exclusive details right now. Nayantara, congratulations on the big break. What's in it for the Tatas to look at the debt-laden carrier? And almost, life comes a full circle for Air India, which was once called the Tata Airline.
So this is our mega ET Now exclusive. We understand from our sources that N. Chandrasekaran of the Tata Group, the top boss at Tata Sons, has been having informal, back-channel, preliminary conversations with the government over privatization of Air India. I understand from my sources that in these preliminary conversations, N. Chandrasekaran, on behalf of Tata Group, has evinced an interest to buy back the Maharaja, to buy a controlling stake in Air India, perhaps all the way up to 51%. I do understand from my sources the government is still keen to maintain the nationality of Air India and may mandate that the Indian shareholding should be at 51% at the time of disinvestment. So enter Tata Sons on board. If Finance Minister Arun Jaitley has his way of convincing the cabinet colleagues that Air India must be fully sold off, which is something the Niti Aayog is also in favor of, maybe the Tatas could rope in their existing joint venture partner Singapore Airlines to buy the balance 49%. The two currently run the domestic carrier Vistara. And this is not the first time that both Tatas and Singapore Airlines will be looking at Air India. Back in 2000, the two had come together and announced their intentions of buying up to 40% in Air India. In fact, there had been a press release also that had been issued by the Tatas. Clearly, though, the massive debt on Air India's book will weigh down very heavily on the Tata Group. But all said and done, this is an airline that had been founded by J.R.D. Tata back in the 1930s. And if it were to return to the Tata fold, it's going to be 64 years after the privatization of Air India.
All right, Nayantara, but what kind of assurances can the government give the Tata Group to make Air India more lucrative? We can't wish away from the fact that Air India has a massive, massive debt burden and a huge workforce.
When we talk about the Tatas coming back on board of Air India, first up, there has to be an emotional connect. Like I said, this is a carrier that had been founded first by J.R.D. Tata. It's not the first time that you've had the Tata Group talk about it. In 2013 too, Ratan Tata had talked about it. What can the government do to make it more lucrative for the Tata Group or any other buyer? The fact is, the debt is at a massive 55 to 60,000 crore rupees. The Modi government has infused nearly 16,000 crore rupees since coming into power. And looking at the financials is the big reason why this government wants to exit Air India in the first place. But every aviation expert that I spoke to did say the Tatas are used to being on top of the game, and Air India could be their ticket to be at the top of the aviation sector. They haven't made the kind of headways that they might have wanted to with Vistara or with their joint venture with Air Asia. If they do buy into Air India, what do they get? They get a ready-made, pretty new fleet of 118 aircraft. They get top slots in not just in India, like 18 morning departure flights in Mumbai, but sparking slots across the world, whether it's London, New York, Chicago, etc. There's also a lot of real estate that Air India owns. The point now is, are the Tatas or any other buyer going to buy Air India with the non-core assets? Or could that be something the government will look to dispose of, to bring the debt down, to make a cleaner balance sheet, to make it a far more lucrative option for any buyer? Also, let's not forget the way the rules are at the moment. While 100% FDI exists on paper, the rules also say that the control has to be with an Indian carrier. And that's why perhaps the Tata Group is the most enthused with all of its might. It seems to be the ready buyer for Air India. So watch this space, watch ET Now. We'll be right on top of this mega story.
All right, Nayantara, thank you very much for breaking that big story right here on ET Now. And if I can tell you the number of papers and news organizations and also portals that have carried that story, it really has had a big, big ET Now impact. Thanks very much for being there, Nayantara.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.